Right.
Well,
I just want to make sure.
I'll
people
mention to
know.
my daughter that it was about 18 years ago,
Okay.
but, and things have, recent concerns that have come out of the community. You got someone new picking up, as we're saying, we want a photo ID. Now, if you're saying that an emergency happened, again, of the 350 changes, how many were change of names, not route changes? Most of it was route changes.
Route changes.
So we don't have a huge administrative burden. It's something that I assumed was in place, and that's why the motion calls it an emergency, that if you want someone new to come and, what happens if someone shows up and says, I'm picking up that kid there, because he's seen that kid walking home through the woods, because he has the freedom of choice. We have an obligation to provide safety measures, and that's why the motion speaks to
Okay,
it.
that's fine, and thank you for clarifying, and I will just speak to your motion. My feeling is that what I would like to see, and I think policy needs to take a look at this, but what I would like to see is if you have a change order that comes in, and I think this differs slightly from what your request is, if you have a change come in from a parent that wants to say, I would like to make a change for my child, I think the parent should come in with ID and say, I am the parent, I am requesting this change, therefore we know it's the guardians or the guardian that is requesting the change for Joe Smith to pick my child up on this day, and then this way the bus driver has the name of the person. Maybe the first time they see that new face, the bus driver should be instructed, you need to get ID and make sure that's Joe Smith that's asking, but at that point I would think it would become, oh yeah, it's Joe Smith. But I would like to see an ID from a parent when they make these requests so that we know it is the parent. Anybody can sign and say, I want Sally Smith to be on bus 6 today, and we don't know for fact that that is the parent making. So that, to me, where the safety lies more. It differs slightly from
I'll
you.
withdraw my motion. I certainly would make that strong suggestion to anyone in the community. If you have anyone between kindergarten, pre-K, I don't know, they don't get on the bus.
No.
Okay.
K through 5, and you want to make a change, and we don't know the person who you're asking us to drop your child off, please send in to your teacher a picture if that doesn't void your rights under the Constitution of the United States. So I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, all right.
Withdraw the second.
I would like, thank you, mine just died. I would like to give the parents an opportunity. I don't know if you finished your presentation. Have you completely?
I have.
Before we hear from the parents, can you please address something that I think I was misunderstood on, the issue with the charging of the half versus the lunch? Can you
Yes.
talk about that? Because I don't think any of us really understood that that's
I
what
was
was going to
under the
happen.
understanding that that was a district policy. I did speak to, this is.
Can I ask what we're talking about?
I'm sorry,
Explain
just
to everyone.
explain it.
Correct.
When we did the fees, we did like we did for the sports. Like if you're free and reduced, if you're free, you get the sports for free. If you're reduced, you get it for half. We're doing the same thing for the buses.
I thought we said no to that.
That was
Well,
my-
what ended up happening is, we were made aware that the law basically says if you're free or reduced, that's it, you get it for free. So we
Right.
changed that.
And that's
all
my
of-
suggestion
all of
is
those
we
free
weren't
reduced
aware.
lunch applications have to be in by October 9th. So as they're coming through now, those families that did pay the reduced price will be reimbursed their portion of the $112.50 that they were charged.
Half of the buses.
Yeah,
Half
so
of the
they're
bus.
rectifying it.
So
Then
for-
that
Right,
was-
Free
we're
reduced, it's
rectifying
free.
it. As the lunch applications come in, if they are approved for either free or reduced, they will then get the reduced waiver back that they had paid for the $112.50.
And that's what I was referring to. I don't think
Okay.
any of us were aware that that's how it was going to get done, I'm guessing. And
I
so,
thought we were just going to, I was under the impression that it didn't matter if you were on free and reduced, it was going to be a $225 fee.
we never voted.
That's
We
the impression
found
I
out, the
was under.
state said no.
Well, it's fine.
Regardless, it
Yeah.
can't be done that way.
Right,
I
it's
don't-
not that way, so we're going to rectify that and take care of that piece.
Okay. I would like, I know there are parents here that have concerns if you guys are okay with it, I'd like to hear from some of the
Oh,
parents that are
that's-
here.
I'd rather hear that than
So
rest of the
come on
agenda.
up. Please tell us who you are, and understand that this is our meeting, so, I mean, we don't have to hear you, but we do want to hear you guys. So please come up.
Your names, too.
Tell us who you are, maybe what grade your student is in, or whatever.
My name is Joyce Kurt. I'm actually a daycare provider in Westport. I've been servicing the community for about 28 years. Michelle
What was your
has
last name?
Kurt, C-O-U-T-E.
Okay.
Michelle has been dynamic, just dynamic. And it is amazing to me that the amount of changes you had this year, considering what you've had to deal with so far, is the same amount of changes as last year. I don't know what kind of changes you worked with last year, but this year it seems to me it would have been double what you would have to dealt with last year. So I'm amazed that that's the same as last year. My concern is, even though I don't have small children at home, I do have a concern for the children who are walking. And I associate also with what you said, Mr. Larrabee, about children walking home. 4th and 5th graders, especially boys, have their own little ideas sometimes about making it all the way home. And there may be a trusting parent at home expecting to see her child. And there is this child who gets an idea, well, Johnny said, if I go by his house, now he's going in a different direction. He's going to a friend's house, unbeknownst to this trusting parent, that her child is off and she doesn't know where he is. These things happen, and when they happen, it's a done deal. There's nothing you can do to change that. I'd also like to address the amount of children on the bus. It's a 58 to 60 children, I believe you said, Michelle.
For Mac and West, yes.
Not all buses have that capacity,
No.
but that's what the maximum
We
capacity
have right now
is.
2 that are still kind of full that I'm working on today through Friday to redo those routes. Bus
Right.
10, 11, and 14, I believe it is. Those 3, we're trying to adjust the areas.
What are the other
Okay.
bus capacities off the top
Probably
of
an
your head?
average of like 30 to 40 kids.
And you had buses last year that only had 11 students.
11, 12 students, 13
That's amazing.
students.
That's amazing. This is an incredible change to this community, and it is a major safety issue to all of us. The amount of children that go on the bus, and I believe it's bus 14 that goes by my child care, is so packed with children. Are there monitors on the bus?
No.
No. This bus driver has the rousing voices of all these children in his ear. And as far as I can see, he's dropping children off. The children are running off the bus, and he's zipping along to this next stop. That's just for my daycare. I saw this bus driver last year, and he knows me, and there's no issue there. But my business is taking in new children and losing other children. So my number of children on the bus can change from one day to the next. So what do I have to do to make a change? Do I have to do it? Does the parent still have to do it? Or is that not even going to be an issue now? The after-school programs for a parent who doesn't have the opportunity to be home, they may be working. The after-school programs, as far as I understand, are already all full.
CFC is full.
Oh, CFC? Is that what you mean?
Is that the only
one
after-school
at
program
the-
that you have?
That's
That's a
the
free one.
elementary school.
That's a free
Citizens
program?
for Citizens program that is offered sort of an after-school daycare of sorts. Is that what
Right.
you're referring to?
Is
There
that
are
all-
other programs, but I don't know if that's the one you're referring to or not. Is that full?
I believe that's full.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
is that a free program?
No, it's not free.
to see it
Okay.
expand.
So I didn't know of any other free programs or programs that there were after
Okay.
school. If
We
there
are
were-
addressing, we do have an addressing of,
update.
an update on that
Okay.
on our agenda.
Okay, so I do have someone who's interested in that. I'd like to pass that information along. But again, I would love to see things go back to the way they were last year. I think our children's lives are at stake, literally, to presume that things will run smoothly because of the way you're giving numbers and passing information along. That's just one dynamic. That's just exchange of information. The reality is these children have minds of their own once they're dropped off and expected to get home on their own. I think that there's a real danger to our children. So I would just like to state
Thank
that
you.
fact. I thank you very much.
Thank you. Michael?
If it's appropriate to address previous speaker's issues that was raised in terms of if there's a business that's in the a daycare business and they have assigned staff that meets at the stop on a regular basis, we know that. The driver knows that. If they have a new hire, absolutely, I'd like you to have a photo. It's not a motion, but certainly I think it would be good in the way of, I know you always like to come to us for advice, and so my advice is if some, to request a photo ID of a change. She has there's a new employee that's going to be at the stop now picking up the 14 students or 3 students, whatever it is. But yeah, I'd like to see that.
If I may respond to that. I'm not a daycare center, and so I do absolutely appreciate the consideration that was made on independent family child care. So I don't have staff. So the fact that it is coming to my door is very, very important because I do family child care. I'll have an infant and a 5-year-old getting off the bus. So it was very important that consideration be made, and I do appreciate that very much. The other issue would be daycare centers, and they have staff. I'm a loner.
Okay. Thank you.
Eric?
She just brought up a conversation that's happened in my house, and she just hit it. When we have children of different ages, a parent is leaving the house to go to a bus stop and leaving another child home alone is a problem. I think we received an email of a special needs student in the district. I don't know if that's ever been addressed. Did you receive that email also? That's very hard to leave a child home sleeping to go to a bus stop.
I will just add, I take my son out in his PJs with his hair all over the place, so I'm one of those parents dragging my son out too.
Hi, Melissa Pacheco. I just have a few quick. Thank you. A few quick questions. We do have a bus policy in Westport, right? Okay, so there's already a policy. Does it take into account these changes and some of the things that have been addressed here?
As far as pickup?
Just any of the changes. Well, I guess maybe pick up and drop off and who picks up and just.
I think it's very vague, the policy that we have, basically. I'd have to look at it again. I didn't.
Is it online?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes, it will be online.
And then, real quick, you mentioned about the 321 changes. Those all came on the Tuesday?
Yes, Tuesday,
Okay.
Wednesday, and Thursday.
All those. So it wasn't that they came from the parents, or they were received and then
No.
someone handed them to you on Tuesday,
No,
Wednesday?
they're, as fast as the schools get them, they're faxing them to me. So if you were to look at any of these changes, they're trying to get them out of their hands, and they not only fax them to me, they fax them to the bus company.
Okay.
But in order to make sure that the drivers were, and the kids were safe and comfortable getting onto these buses, we were kind of playing the in-between from the bus company to the drivers, because a lot of that information wasn't getting transferred right away from the bus company. So we were having the staff basically make sure that what kids were getting on which bus, getting home,
Sure.
And we always have a few that, Johnny was supposed to come home at 4 today, and bus 4 left. It was pouring that day. We had 2 kids that went on one. They went right by the parents' house. The kids were thrilled. They're waving, and parents beside themselves running to elementary school because their 2 kids just drove by. But we try to rectify that very quickly. We try to deal with the parents right away to try to make sure that whatever changes we can get done.
So as a parent, I didn't make any bus changes, although I was one of my child didn't get. They missed my child missed her bus, but I understand that happens. So I mean, I'm not faulting anybody. Just that happens, especially the first week of school. But I will say that the changes that were made the week right before school, and they were made on the Wednesday night. So people had very limited window of opportunity to go and hear about those changes, and then they had to scramble to make changes. I fortunately was able to not have to make a bus change because I utilized some resources, but a lot of families unfortunately don't. So having to make that split change, I really wish we would have been able to do it longer.
Well, and I think that piece came because it took us so long to come to a decision on where the cuts were going to be, and because that was one of the cuts, and it didn't happen until, I'm not sure of the date that it happened, when we were discussing the budget, that's, you know, when it got delayed as far as families. I think if you were here and you heard that one of the cuts was getting rid of a route, nobody really understood how that would look. So I think that's what was difficult. It was only told the Wednesday before, where we could have probably done a one call, letting parents know right after the vote was done, keep in mind this change.